Hello, everybody. I am going to share this, if I can figure out how, to my personal page. Maybe. I want to come on here today and talk to you guys, share some ideas about setting up a teacher classroom, setting up an online classroom, and helping you guys to be able to figure out your lighting, what it looks like, how your classroom is going to look to your students. And this can be anybody, any teacher, okay? So I'm trying to figure out how to send this to my page. Maybe we're there. Okay, I don't know. We're going to find out. Okay, so do I have anybody on here yet? Maybe, maybe not. Trying to figure out if it's showing up on my personal page or not. Yes, it is. Okay, great. So, a little bit about me. I have been teaching English as a second language to kids in China for almost a year and a half. So, when I very first started doing this, I had to figure out the virtual classroom. And so I've learned a few things. And now that there are so many of you guys that are typically um, brick and mortar teachers, that you're either already planning on having a virtual classroom, or maybe it's kind of in the back of your mind that sometime soon you're going to need a virtual classroom. Um, I thought I would jump on and just share a few tips about how to make your classroom look its best, how to maneuver within your classroom, and some ideas that I just want to share with you that I've learned over the time. Okay, so one of the very first things that I struggled with when I set up my classroom was lighting. And um, when you just open your laptop in your dining room and you've just got your overhead light or whatever, sometimes you look a little bit like you're in the shadows or a little bit scary or whatever. So here's some ideas to make the lighting of your classroom look its best. First of all, I'm all about finding things around the house. I mean, you can run out to the store, you can jump on Amazon and buy stuff, but usually there's something in your home that you can make work. So what I did was I grabbed this old lamp that we had, this one, and it also has a lower section that has a light bulb. I don't know if you can see this very well, but I put tissue paper. I turned the lamp straight into my face, and then I covered it with tissue paper so that it diffused the light. It's not bright in my face, bright in my eyes, giving me a headache, but it gives me the bounce of the light and creates a brighter atmosphere in my classroom. I also have a second lamp over on this side, a little tiny one, that I can adjust if I feel like there's shadows on my face or it's dark. I can put it up and deal with the brightness in my face for a little bit, or I can turn it down and not have it on my face if I don't need it. And that has to do with the fact that I have a window right there. And so sometimes I'm teaching in the early morning and it's still dark. And so I don't get the sunlight as much, and I need that second lamp. So go around your house, find a couple of lamps that maybe aren't as needed, and set them up right beside your monitor, right beside where you're putting your laptop, and try to put the light onto you. Okay? Play around with it. Get a second person to stand there and move the lamps, move the lights around until you figure out how to get the light to focus on you, but also be mindful of not giving yourself a headache. So use tissue paper, diffuse, do whatever you need to do that way to create, where you can do this for a couple of hours at a time and not be blinded. But that is what you're looking for, the light to shine into your face. Okay? So lighting really helps. If you are some days going to be set up one place and some days set up another, one day it might be better. You got to be flexible. I know you guys are dealing with a different situation. My situation is more permanent, so I'm able to set up in the same place. Another thing I want to share about is that I stand to teach. And when I started teaching, I was originally sitting at my desk, and I decided that I couldn't operate and move in the whole space of my classroom. This is a very limited space. You guys, you brick and mortar teachers are used to walking around the front of your classroom, up and down the aisles. Okay, you're in a way limited space here. Um, and so you want to use all of that space if you can. That means being able to move. So think about whether or not you can set your classroom up to where you're teaching while you're standing. I actually have, well, let me start. When I very first started, I did not have this desk. I used a bookcase. It was one of those that has the cubes, and you buy the little baskets to go in each cube. And then on top of that, I had another box, and then I had my laptop. You want your laptop camera or your computer camera to be eye level so that you are looking into the camera at your students. So I had all of that raised up, and I had my camera up top and my computer right in front of me, and I taught standing up that way. Now I have a desk that I can actually raise and lower. We already owned it, but my husband was using it before. Now I get it. So I have, I stand up to teach, but I have a stool nearby. And if I decide right now I want to just sit down, then I can do that too. So I've got a little bit of flexibility, but I find when I'm teaching, I do a much better job if I'm standing up. So just keep that in mind. Maybe that's not you. That's okay. Maybe you're teaching from 9 a.m. till 5 p.m. I don't know, whatever. And you just need to keep it flexible. So think about those things. But consider standing to teach. I can reach over here and grab something. I can fix my light over here, and I'm not stuck in my one little place. I forgot to say it earlier, but I see a few people watching. If you have a question or you have a comment, feel free to throw it up there. I'm going to attempt to answer any questions that you might have. Another idea that I want to share with you is a free program that I use. That's how I have this teacher Kelly on my screen, and I can also write on my screen. Hello. And that might be something that you find helpful in your classroom. So I wanted to share, this is a program called Manycam, M-A-N-Y-C-A-M. There are several programs out there, and depending on your kind of computer and your internet strength and stuff like that, then you might want to choose a different program. But if you want the opportunity to use your screen, I can put a bunch of different pictures up here. If I was teaching about transportation, I might want to put a taxi and a van, different things like that. I can pop onto my screen. There's a little bit of a learning curve, but it's not too much to learn how to use this program. I very rarely pop those pictures up, but I write on the screen all the time. And I love that my name for my students is right here on the screen. So that's a different camera program. Now, if you're teaching in Zoom, you actually have the opportunity to do a screen share. And I also do use my Manycam program to screen share because I don't teach in Zoom. But I can show you, ta-da, I'm right down here in the corner, and I'm able to share my screen and show my students different pictures. All I've done is throw these pictures into Google Slides. So you can see I have it in Google Slides. Any pictures that I want to share, here's a picture of my house. If I want to show my students where I live in Florida, I can pop that open. There we go. And I teach for a company called VIP Kids, and these are our main characters, so sometimes I'm sharing that, so I threw that in there. Here's a dancing bear that they can earn. Any pictures that relate to your lesson of the day, you can throw those into Google Slides or PowerPoint, and you can share screen and help your students see what they need to see. Let me get out of this so that I can come back to you guys. Okay, so I shared about lighting, and I shared about using your space, possibly standing to teach. Threw out there a little bit about ManyCam. I'm happy to answer questions because that's a little bit more technical. And using Google Slides to give you some pictures and stuff like that. Another thing I want to throw out there, I don't have much left. I've been teaching since 6 o'clock this morning, but I always start out with bright red lipstick. There's not a whole lot here left. Let me see. This is funny. I'm going to put lipstick on in the classroom, but see how this changes when I have red lipstick. All right, brightens up my face, puts my the focus on the fact that I'm speaking, right? All right, so just an idea. Maybe you're not a makeup wearer, that's fine. Like I said, I start early. 6 was a little bit late for me today. I don't do a lot of makeup, but I throw on red lipstick. I don't wear red lipstick outside of teaching, but I find it makes a really big difference in the classroom. I'm teaching English. The kids are looking at my face for pronunciation, that kind of stuff. Maybe that works for you, maybe it doesn't. But I think it does help draw the attention to the fact that you're teaching and your students can focus on you. Okay, let's see. What else did I make a note about? I talked to a friend this week. She was struggling with setting up her classroom, so I was trying to remember the things that we talked about so that I could share those with you guys. I do think it's helpful. Keep it simple, but you could set up a educational background. Mine is set up for my English students. This is a year and a half in, and I've done a magnetic thing back here so I can stick things to my board easily. You guys are on a temporary situation, so you probably don't want to do a major setup, but my very first classroom was a Dollar Tree plastic tablecloth that I tacked up in the corner, so I had a solid purple background, and I had taped some pictures that were specific to my classroom up here behind me, and it just created a classroom environment. It was less distraction. That's what you're going for in your virtual classroom, is that your kids are focused on what you're teaching, maybe not focused on whatever's going on behind you or whatever is on the wall behind you. So just think about, like I said, keep it simple, keep it cheap. But I'm happy to brainstorm ideas because I've had like 4 different classrooms. This is the one that's lasted the longest, but different ways. And I only did the magnetic board recently. Happy to share how I did that too. So be sure to ask if you have any questions. I can't think if I had anything else that we shared about. Oh, I did one fun thing is when you're using a prop, remember that you're back here, you can use that space backward and forward too. So if you want to really get somebody's attention, move in towards your camera, right? Or move back from your camera. And I often have to go in like this to have a student look at the pronunciation, right? And that's the other thing, is remember that when you are looking at yourself, right now I'm looking at myself on the screen, or I'm looking at my student on the screen. This is what I look like. If you want to make eye contact, you got to look up at your camera. I have a nice little sticky note right next to my camera to help me remember. Focus on eye contact right there. I'm looking at you. Okay. So I hope some of these ideas might be helpful. I know the lighting is it's tricky. It just takes some figuring it out. It takes some grabbing some extra lamps and putting them in different places if you have the lamps up here or back here. So again, I'm happy to brainstorm and help you figure that out. We can do a Zoom call together, or we can just share notes or text or whatever. But anyway, if you have any ideas that I can share further, I'm happy to do that. And I hope that you have maybe gotten a virtual classroom idea from me. That's it. I will see you guys later. End. Yeah.